Yo, what is up guys, welcome to HITC Football. As you guys know, I'm Dutch, but the demographic of this channel is largely British. You know what, I thought it would be a fun idea to have a look at England's best starting 11. Because we're going into the World Cup, everybody wants to know how is England going to line up. But today, we're not going to listen to my opinion. Because in this video, we're going to look at England's statistical best 11. And we're going to base that off the ratings from Who Scored. It's a website that keeps track of all the players, keeps an average rating for every single player. So I looked at all the English players with the best rating in their position and I just made a starting 11 from that. So again, this is not my opinion, this is the opinion of Statistical. But with this one, I don't know. At the end, I will probably tell you guys if I agree with this starting 11. And in this 11, there are two players not from the Premier League. Let me know in the comments down below who you think those players are. Don't watch the video, let me know right now and let's see if you can get them right. But anyways, that's a long intro, so without further ado, let's get right into the video. In goal, it was actually pretty easy. Jordan Pickford is the best rated England goalkeeper according to Who Scored. There are a few goalkeepers that are in contention right here. You have the likes of Dean Henderson, Nick Pope, Aaron Ramsdale. In all fairness, it wasn't even that close. Pickford is England's main goalkeeper and it will probably remain the same thing at the World Cup. Who Scored gave him a rating of exactly 7.0, which is 0.14 more than Nick Pope, who is second best according to the stats. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not surprised here. I would probably go for the same. So Pickford should be England's #1 goalkeeper going into the World Cup 2022 in Qatar. I don't know why I made the name so long, but yeah, let's move on. Now it's time to move on to right back, and this is where it gets hella interesting. In right back, England have a plethora of absolutely unbelievable, amazing players. Likes of Trent Alexander-Arnold, Reece James, Kyle Walker. Many countries would die to have one of these players, but according to the stats, they are not in the starting 11. As crazy as it actually sounds, none of those three actually would get into this 11 if we would purely base it off this rating. Personally, I think that's pretty sus. I don't know, I can't say that I agree with it, but yeah, I do understand that the player that they pick, or well, they didn't pick him, who gets the highest rating, would make the squad because he has been pretty good. But to pick him ahead of Reece James, Trent Alexander-Arnold, I don't know about that one. You guys are probably wondering, who are you talking about? Let us know right now. The name is Kieran Trippier, the 32-year-old right back from Newcastle United. Gets in the squad ahead of Reece James, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Kyle Walker. I've said it numerous times, but we have to stress that this is pretty insane. Kieran Trippier gets an average rating of 7.51. There are only two English players better than him who we're going to talk about later. They are the attackers, so you can probably already make up your mind who I'm talking about. If you already have an idea who it could be, let me know in the comments down below. Currently, Newcastle are actually in 4th, as things are looking absolutely great right now for the club with their newfound riches. Kieran Trippier played in every single game this season in the Premier League. He only missed a few minutes here and there, but he played 99% of the available minutes. Scored once, gave another assist. He has been very solid in defense. Now it's time to move on to the centre-back partnership, and it's time for one player, one of the two, that actually isn't playing in the Premier League right now. He played in the Premier League for years, he became kind of a laughingstock, but then when he left the country, all of a sudden, and I didn't know it was possible, but this guy became a great defender again. Obviously, I'm talking about Chris Smalling, the guy that has experienced a career resurgence since he moved to England. And statistically, again, according to Who Scored, this guy, together with the other centre-back, is currently rated as the best English defender in the entire world. So far, the 32-year-old centre-back has scored 3 times in 11 appearances in Serie A. Am I the only one who thinks that's absolutely insane? That's pretty good for a defender. And all around, this guy is just a great defender. I never thought that I would say it, but Chris Smalling actually is a good defender. And according to the stats, the best English defender currently in the world right now. I said currently and in the world 2 times. I don't know. I didn't need to do that. On the one hand, you might say, yes, he's in great form. He already played 31 times for the England national team. But on the other hand, he consistently gets overlooked by Gareth Southgate because he hasn't played a single time for the England national team since 2017. So the stats show that this guy is having a great season. And you know, I think it's strange to say, but maybe Southgate, you should consider actually taking Smalling to the World Cup this year. Next up, it's time for a Premier League player, another Everton player actually. Pretty interesting that they already have 2 players in this squad. But the player that we're going to talk about is James Tarkowski. But you better believe that this guy is actually in contention for a starting 11 spot at the World Cup this year. After joining Everton from Burnley this year, Tarkowski has been absolutely unbelievable and the stats clearly show that. Together with Smalling, this guy currently is the best English defender in the entire world, and he's also been a rock at the back for Everton. He played every single minute in the Premier League so far. Didn't get any goal involvements, but I forgive him. He's a centre back. Not everybody can score just like Chris Smalling. And the fact that he joined the club on a free transfer makes it all the all the much better for Everton because they could possibly have an England starting 11 player on their payroll that they actually got for free. And now it's time to move on to the left back, and again, this is probably a player that you wouldn't expect here. I definitely didn't expect this name to pop up, especially if you take the season that his club is having right now in consideration, because the player that I'm talking about is James Justin from Leicester City. His team started the season off absolutely horrendous. Recently they kind of got back to their winning ways, but currently they're in 16th, and that's a pretty far cry from the last couple of seasons where they were consistently battling for the top spot. Their number 2, James Justin, gets the highest average rating from Who Scored. Personally, I think that's interesting. I don't know, when the rest of the squad is that great, to have him, I'm not necessarily really convinced about him. I think he's a good defender, but starting left back for England, I don't know. I don't think it will happen actually. But according to the stats, he gets a 6.81, which makes him the highest rated left back for England in the entire world. I mean, at least he played every single game for Leicester so far this season. He's 24, so still pretty young. He already made his debut for England, but I don't think that he will be the starting left back at the World Cup for England. I don't really see it happening. Another example that you shouldn't base your opinion fully off of stats. And now it's time to move on to the midfield, and here are a few great players, some amazing players, and personally, one of my favorite English players is in here as well. And we're immediately going to talk about him because this is the other player that isn't playing in the Premier League but clearly deserves a spot in the England national team. And if you ask me, and probably a lot of people share this opinion with me, Jude Bellingham deserves to be one of the first people on the team sheet for England. He has been absolutely on fire for Dortmund for a couple of years now, but this season especially, he has been absolutely great. He already has 8 goals this season in all competitions, and this guy recently only turned 19 years old. This guy is going to get sold next summer, and Borussia Dortmund are going to get a lot of money for this guy. Arguably, he could become the most expensive midfielder in the entire history of the game. But I'm pretty sure that Birmingham is also hoping that he will get sold next summer because they negotiated a 5% sell-on clause, so a lot of money is definitely coming their way. But the form that he currently has is absolutely ridiculous. There's no way that he's not going to the World Cup. Yeah, maybe if he gets injured, but let's pray that that will not happen. Because even though I'm not English, I'm clearly looking forward to see this guy at the highest stage. And I don't know, it's pretty interesting to think about where this guy would go next. You hear the likes of Real Madrid, Liverpool as well. This guy would literally fit in anywhere. Let me know in the comments down below, where do you think that Jude Bellingham will actually end up next summer? But yeah, 100% I agree with this pick. Definitely one of the best midfielders in the world. 4th best English player according to Who Scored with a 7.48 rating. And there's nothing more to say. Let's move on to the next player to see who will accompany him in midfield. Next up is Declan Rice, also a player that would definitely make sense to be in the England starting 11. He's only 23 years old, but he already featured 34 times for the England national team, so he definitely isn't a stranger to the squad. He played every single minute this season for West Ham, but his team has been kind of disappointing so far. They're currently in 17th. I definitely expected them to be higher up in the table, but the season is still young, so yeah, okay, sure, a lot can still happen, but so far it hasn't really been impressive from West Ham. And that's why it also makes sense that Declan Rice currently isn't rated in the top 10 best English players in the world. He's in 13th with a rating of 7.02, but like I said, still enough to get him into the starting 11 according to the stat. Next up is the center attacking midfielder for this 11. And a lot of people agreed that this guy should actually play more for England. For some reason, Southgate consistently overlooks James Maddison. I honestly don't know why, because this guy is a great player, an attacking threat, which he already showed this season, 8 goal contributions in 10 games for Leicester, which currently makes him the 5th best English player in the entire world, with an average rating of 7.35. And this guy single-handedly has been one of the reasons why Leicester City turned their absolutely atrocious form around and currently are doing a little bit better. And it's absolutely ridiculous that the likes of Declan Rice and Bellingham together already have like 50 caps if you combine all of them, and those two are only 19 and 23 years old. Maddison is 25 and he only played once for the England national team. So I don't understand why this guy consistently gets overlooked. He has been absolutely ridiculous for Leicester City for quite some years now. This season he clearly stepped up his game. So if Gareth Southgate doesn't pick him for a starting 11, then he at least deserves a spot on the plane to Qatar. Because Maddison in this form, I'm pretty sure that a lot of countries would absolutely kill to have this guy on their team. And now it's time to move on to the attackers, and there are a lot of great players that are in contention here. But we're only able to pick 3, so naturally a lot of great players are not going to feature in the squad. But one player that has been great for some years, that has actually been a regular for the England national squad, is still very young, only 21 years old. But again, this season he's showing that he's a great player and nobody is going to take his spot, because Bukayo Saka has been absolutely ridiculous for Arsenal. Together with Maddison, he's currently the 5th best English player in the entire world with the same rating, 7.35, and I'm personally personally a big fan of this guy. The ability and talent that this guy is already showing at the age of 21 is absolutely ridiculous. When he missed a penalty at Euro 2020, it easily could have just completely broken him and his self-confidence, but he bounced back by having a great season for Arsenal last season, and he's been continuing that same thing. There have been moments where I thought, okay, this guy could have a little bit better output, but he's also improved that this season. 8 goal contributions in 11 Premier League games. We already talked about Arsenal a little bit. They're currently in first, well deserved as well. They're playing some amazing football, and this guy has a great career ahead of him. He's already having a great career, but I just have a feeling that things will just get better and better for Saka, and it would be amazing to see him at his first World Cup, and things would have to go very wrong in order for that not to happen. We're not immediately going to move to the striker because we will talk about the left winger first, because we want to save the best for last, but the player that's in left wing arguably could be considered one of the best as well, especially if you look at this season, because Phil Foden has been absolutely ridiculous for Manchester City. 9 goal contributions in 11 games. In the Premier League alone, he added another goal in the Champions League. This guy is absolutely ridiculous week in, week out, but his most notable display has been his hat-trick in the Manchester derby. But for some reason that really didn't get talked about a lot, because a certain Erling Haaland also scored a hat-trick and is currently already on 17 Premier League goals. Yes, we're still in October, but I already talked about Haaland way too much, so it's time to put Foden in the spotlight right now, because he clearly deserves it. And like I said at the beginning, we can make a case that Phil Foden has arguably been the best English player this season, and according to Who Scored, he actually has the highest rating right now, which puts him in number 1 ahead of all the other England players. But unfortunately for him, and fortunately for England, he isn't there alone, because there's another player that has the same exact average rating and shares the top spot with Phil Foden, and you could probably already guess that that player is Harry Kane, and it isn't really a surprise that he makes the squad as a striker. In the Premier League, he's currently the top scorer of all the normal players. Sure, Erling Haaland has 17, but we should not look at him. We should just not count that completely, because that's just outrageous. But still, okay, Harry Kane is in second with 10 goals, which is still a pretty decent number. First start of the season off great, but they had a little bit of a dip. They lost 3 out of their last 5 games, but Kane has consistently been great for his club. I have to give a shout out to the likes of Ivan Toney and Callum Wilson as well. Both of them are also in the top 10 of England players this season, but still nobody is able to beat Harry Kane. So do I agree with the starting 11? I don't know. Some players I would probably swap out. If Reece James was completely injury free, he would be my starting right back. I would probably also make some tweaks in defense. I think the midfield is great as it is. The attack as well, I don't really have a lot of problems with that. I would maybe try to find a spot for Sterling or Grealish. Arguably Sterling more than Grealish at the moment, but you can't really argue with the likes of Saka and Foden either. Guys, that's the video done. Let me know in the comments down below who you think deserves to be in the squad and who you think shouldn't be in here. As always, like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new to the channel, click my videos on the ad screen right now, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace.